life has been a series of misdirections. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 6. My brother was diagnosed with autism and severe anxiety at the age of 7. When I was 13, I was told that we were moving from our small town of 50,000 people to our even smaller small town of 1,000 people. I was leaving behind my friends, my house, but I wasn't leaving home. Throughout my life, there's always been one constant: theater. I was always filming myself acting out skits, being a meteorologist on the news or a chef on a cooking show. If there was ever a project I had to do for school, you could find me in my backyard with a webcam. If you still don't have an idea of how dramatic I am, my mother used to call me Susan Lucci, so maybe that will give you an idea of my chaotic, melodramatic energy. It's no exaggeration to say that the theater is my home. I've been doing musical theater since I was in 2nd grade. My very first show was Willy Wonka Jr. Now, if you look at this show, you'll notice that while the characters are very comical and appealing to children, they also have a lot of depth to them. Now, of course, as a 7-year-old, I didn't pick up on that. But now that I'm 15, I pick up on a lot of information. And whenever I do a show, the first question that pops up in my head is, what else can I learn about this character? What does the audience learn about this character through subtext rather than context? And how can I portray that to the best of my ability? When I recited the pledge of the International Thespian Society last year, one of the lines that I repeated was, "I promise to perform my part as well as I can." In order to uphold this promise, I must seriously consider the question, why do I tell stories? For this is the question every actor asks themselves before they go out and perform a part. If you'll humor me, I'd like to tell you the stories of a few people I know very well who are very dear and near to my heart. Once upon a time, there was an old woman, widowed, who worked her butt off every day to keep her grill open. She was brutally honest, consistently getting into fights with her neighbors about her or her food. But she was only brutally honest in some aspects, keeping a lot of her life locked away, pushed aside. She had a son who she snuck bread to, a veteran of the Vietnam War, who had deserted. She had told everyone he had died in action. The truth is, he was very much alive. Once upon a time, there was a brave, valiant knight who fought alongside a king who treated him as his equal. But the knight came from humble beginnings, from a village ridden with famine and disease, raised by a father with very little affection for his son. When the knight was on a quest, he stumbled upon a castle, the castle that held his soon-to-be lover inside of its walls. When he met this new lover, he didn't know how to react. What were these emotions that he was feeling? What was love? These people aren't real. They're characters that I've played in shows here at Conval High School. But their lives are as fleshed out as ours, and their relationships with each other are as raw and as real as the ones that we have with each other. Theater is such a unique art form because the audience gets to see these characters and these people live. If you really wanted to, you could reach out and touch the people on stage, but please do not. Very alarming. Because they're real and in front of you, the audience gets to see these characters develop right in front of their eyes. For example, this past summer, I was honored to participate in Conval's production of Mary Poppins Jr. When I auditioned for this show, I wrote down on the audition sheet that I wanted to audition for the role of Mary Poppins, because who didn't? I walked in the room and I sang my song and I performed my monologue and I went home and I turned on my phone and opened the internet browser, found the page where the cast list was going to be posted, and refreshed. And refreshed, and refreshed, for a consistent 6 hours. Then finally I saw it, the link to the precious cast list, and I open it, and I scroll, and I scroll, and I scroll, and I find my name, and there it is, Abby Theberge, and right next to it, Mr. George Banks. Now, if you've never seen Mary Poppins, Mr. Banks is a mean, cruel businessman who cares about nothing but money. He has very little regard for his children, who are consistently kept under the care of their nanny, Mary Poppins. When I heard that I was going to play Mr. Banks, I was crushed. How was I supposed to play someone who was so mean and so cruel? But then I started doing character work, and I realized that Mr. Banks had a really bad childhood. He was raised in a home where his mother and father were never home because they were consistently working. He instead was raised by his nanny, Miss Andrew, who physically abused him every time he stepped a toe out of line and force-fed him medicine even though he was not ill. Mr. Banks was not mean, he was just broken. But I didn't know if the audience would feel and recognize that. After the show, I sat in line with my castmates out in the foyer and wrung my hands and sat there playing with the wedding band that was on my left ring finger, and I kept twirling it thinking, oh God, no one's gonna come up to me, no one's gonna wanna talk to me, some little child's gonna come up to me and go, how dare you! You're mean and I hate you! So I sat. And then a little 3-year-old came up to me and handed me his playbill and a Sharpie. My heart exploded. I had a castmate come up to me and tell me that she used to hate Mr. Banks, but that after seeing my performance, she realized why he did the things that he did. I had grandparents come up to me and thank me for bringing so much humanity to Mr. Banks. That's why I tell stories, because stories help me find the humanity within myself and the people around me. To be an actor is to be an artist. To be an artist is to be a storyteller, and to be a storyteller is to change the world. Thank you.